For the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Director Poshen, would you please read our mission and vision statements?
Mission statement. The Davenport Community School District is dedicated to growing excellence in academics, the arts, and athletics for every child by ensuring the highest quality education in an environment shaped by a diverse community, preparing our students to be lifelong learners and productive citizens. Vision statement. Education that challenges conventional thinking, prepares all students to compete in a global society, and inspires our students, parents, staff, and community to answer the question, what if?
Thank you, Director Poshen. Director Beck, would you please read our guiding principles?
Yes. Opportunity. We provide abundant opportunities to empower students to reach their full potential academically, creatively, and socially. Collaboration. We foster an environment that allows students, families, and community stakeholders to come together for the betterment of our students' education and future. Transparency. We share relevant and important information with our students, families, and the community to maintain open and productive communication.
Thank you, Director Beck. Superintendent Schneckhoff, would you please read our goals?
Goal number 1, to enhance student learning, and goal number 2, to increase access and success for all students.
Thank you. I do want to announce that we do have one agenda change. There will be no presentation tonight as the University of Iowa didn't want to chance the weather, so that will be on a later agenda for a different board meeting. We have no public hearings tonight. There are no recognitions, no presentation, so we'll move right on to student board reports. Julie, you're up.
Hello there. All right. With New Year comes new achievement and opportunities for Wes. This past weekend, junior Eric Ding set another record for Wes in the 200-yard breaststroke and the 200-yard individual medley, setting him as first in the state for breaststroke and fourth in the state for 200-yard individual medley. In other news, congrats to Torrance Hicks for being selected for the 2024 All-State Cheerleading Squad. Out of 300 students who tried out, Hicks, alongside with 28 other cheerleaders, were selected to perform at the Boys States Basketball Tournament on March 18th. We are incredibly proud of our students at Wes. Alongside that, tomorrow night, Wes Choir Programs will be hosting a Pops concert to celebrate the new year. They will be singing classic pop such as Jolene by Dolly Parton, and then new modern pop such as Billie Eilish. Wes will also be debuting their show choir, West Connection, and their 2024 show. So we are excited to see many new faces this year. That'll be all. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Great report. Board reports. Are there any board reports? Director Kleinger.
We'd like to offer our condolences to the family of Bill Freeze. Bill was a baseball coach at Central, and the Central baseball field is named after him, and he passed away recently.
Thank you. Director Hayes.
Also, the board offers our condolence in the recent passing of Robbie Williamson. Actually, she was a head cook in this building for a number of years, and she recently passed.
Thank you. Director Beck.
It's been a while, but I know I participated along with most of you in the poverty simulation that happened in December, but it was after our last meeting. And I just wanted to say how impressive that was and well run. I was there as a participant, and I believe Director Barnes was as well. Most of the rest of us had already done it and were there as volunteers. And then I also wanted to extend my thanks to Jennifer Saxon. I popped into a professional development session on letters training at Eisenhower Elementary last week, and because I was curious about what it's like to be at one of those, and it was really interesting, and I got to chat with a couple of teachers, got some of their thoughts on how the whole process works, and so I just want to really appreciate the opportunity to do that.
Thank you. Are there any other board reports? Seeing none, we will move on to communications. I don't have any open forum requests in front of me. Brenda, did we have any virtual ones? Okay, thank you. So no open forum tonight. May I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board accept the consent agenda as written.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President?
Director Potts.
Potts, yeah, it's sign subject there. I was going to ask the superintendent if you would clarify those couple of items that we had talked about off the record.
I believe you asked about the teacher registered apprenticeship. There are two of those, and that is our Grow Your Own program.
Yes.
So they're paraeducators. Were those the two items?
The teacher apprentices and the Klipsch.
Oh, yes, and we are welcoming Frank Klipsch to our mentoring and an achievement specialist. He's going to bring quite a bit to that position. He's coming from the Y, so his sole goal will be to get mentors with our students to ensure student achievement. And it is not Mayor Klipsch; it is the oldest of the Klipsch children.
Junior.
Frank Jr. Absolutely.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Superintendent report.
Well, it's my honor and privilege to announce tonight our new Director of Communications and Community Relations. Miss Sarah Ott comes to us from the city. She started on the January 2nd or 3rd, and she really hit the ground running. She's been meeting with the buildings, touring, getting to know our internal systems, calibrating with our systems, and she's done a fantastic job. She brings a systems mindset to our district and has really done an excellent job in the first week. So Sarah, welcome to our team. We're so glad you're here and looking forward to the impact that you have on Davenport schools. Do you have anything that you would like to share?
I do not. But it has been an excellent first week. There's a phenomenal team here, and I'm really excited to join. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. That concludes my presentation.
My mic is, there we go. Thanks for the superintendent report. We will move on to committee reports. We are going to kick it off with the Breaking Barriers Committee, which was formerly the Poverty Committee, so.
Director Beck did speak on that, but there's been a lot of positive feedback from various people in the community regarding the poverty simulation that we had, and we're looking forward to doing it again and doing other things within the district.
Thank you, Director Hayes. Elziak.
We are meeting on Tuesday of next week. And just an update, we have scheduled meetings in January, March, and May, so kind of in every other month.
Thank you. Policy Committee.
We met last week, and we've set up a schedule for the year that we will be meeting 8 times, since we are just reviewing things we've all made changes to, or any new things that come along.
Thank you. Long-range facilities planning.
None at this time.
Thank you. Legislative advocacy, we just did our breakfast with legislators as well as our lunch with legislators. The superintendent was able to give his state of the district address to them and kind of let them know some of our things, and we were able to put forth our priorities. Myself and Director Poston were there. It was very well attended, and we had some good conversation. We had some of our local electeds with, I think, almost everyone but one of the Board of Supervisors, all of our legislators, a majority of our legislators, and then we also had the mayor of a couple of our towns at a couple of them as well. So it was good to have that meeting, especially before they kick off to legislative session. We were able to offer some insights, and TJ was able to give some statistics on things for them to take with them to the Capitol. So, do Director Poshner or Superintendent, do you have anything to add to that? All right, thank you. Finance Committee, and I see you have a report, so I'll turn it over to you.
Kevin is, I think, is he going to do that now? Okay. Kevin will report on our October key measures and monthly fund report.
I promise this will be quick. It seems out of sync because it's the first meeting of the month. I promise you we'll have November and probably December along with us in 2 weeks from now. This report's pretty vanilla right now. It's a fourth of the way through our year. I call it our week 4 because it has July and August in there when there's less activity going on. The only thing to really mention in there, you don't have to open them, Brenda, but if people have seen them, the only thing in the revenue side, as far as our monthly report, our ESSER is way ahead of schedule. We made our first payment to staff. Those numbers are showing up in here as far as revenue. As far as our ending fund balance, with those revenues coming in quicker than the year before, we're sitting at over just a little bit more than $15 million surplus. That'll work its way down since we had our October property taxes and so forth. That's a high mark, and it'll start working its way down from there until April. But if you look at our total expenditures, we're almost a dead heat between last year and this year. So we're doing really well in that respect. And on the key measures, just to point out, we were roughly looking at 11% is what we budgeted for our UAB, and it's running at about a 13.6% estimate right now. It's still early, but we're still ahead of the curve a little bit on that, and our solvency is high, but it's starting to work its way down a little bit. It's a little bit of that effect going on. Really, there is nothing else to report on that other than that.
Anything else with finance? All right, thank you for the report. We will move on to items requiring action. May I have a motion on subject 11.01, conceptual physics, conceptual chemistry, honors physics, and honors chemistry, science courses, curriculum resource adoption? Don't everybody jump at once.
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the purchase of curriculum resources from Houghton, Muffin, Harcourt, and for conceptual physics, conceptual chemistry, honors physics, and honors chemistry in the amount of $226,473.36 using ESSER funds.
Second.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Director Klein-Jerome. She can hurry up on that one. Is there any motion's been made and seconded? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 11.02, business pathway curriculum resource?
Mr. President,
Director Beck?
I move the board approve the purchase of textbooks from Cengage in the amount of $162,912.75.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I have one question. Is this not coming out of ESSER? Oh, because the other one said ESSER, this one did not. That's what. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 11.03, at-risk dropout prevention?
Mr. President,
Director Poston.
move the board authorize the district administration to submit a request to the School Budget Review Committee in the amount of $5,262,844 for modified supplemental amount for the purpose of the 2024-2025 at-risk and dropout prevention program.
Thank
Second.
you for a second. Thank you, Director Potts. Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 11.04, approve negotiating teams?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the negotiation teams for spring 2024 as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 11.05, policies for approval?
Mr. President,
Director Klein Jerome.
I move the board approve policy 701.05.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. We will move on to discussion items. Our first subject for discussion is 12.01, radio system proposal. Turn it over to Superintendent.
Thank you. The Davenport Schools radio system is an integral part in how we communicate internal to the building and also external components. It's very critical to our safety and how we operate in the district. Our radios are at about the end of life, and it's time for us to move forward. So we're bringing a proposal forward to purchase a new radio system. Josh, I'll turn it over to you.
So previous to this, about 2.5 years ago, we started having discussions about the radio system and upgrading it and maybe moving to a different type of system, thinking there was more technology that we could utilize, things like that. After we've met with staff and different levels of the organization all over the place, just talking about it, we decided to go back to the radio system and stay with it. It seemed like everything we did always ended up going back to the same system. So we worked with a vendor for a while. We weren't getting great response from them or customer service for the last couple of years. So we decided to reach out to a different company, Electronic Engineering locally here, who is used by all of our local districts. Bettendorf, Pleasant Valley, North Scott all also use this company. So we met with them, and shortly thereafter they were able to put a proposal together to get our system off of what we are using as the city's. So right now we run off the city's radio system. We lease space from them, and they're migrating away from that to a different system. So they have a few radios left on their tower right now, but at the end of 2024, that radio system is going to be shut down, and they're either going to have to decide to purchase another system to go on to or migrate a different way. So in meeting with Electronic Engineering, instead of going up the route of a large tower system through the whole area, we decided to go to a space where the towers or the transmitters or repeaters, I think they're called, are put in 15 different locations throughout the city, and we can run off of those. There's two different options for us to run off of. One of is more of a tower system. It's more expensive, but it would cover anything and everything probably forever that we would need. The lower cost system is more of a localized buildings throughout our district. But we thought with the district, the way things are going right now, that would probably be a better option, and we could save a few $100,000. Some of our radios will continue to work on the new system, but not all of them. So of the 600 radios we have in the district, around 510 to 520 of them would need to be replaced to run on the new system. So that's a significant amount of the cost. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The quote came from a Sourcewell contract, so that was bid through the state contract that's already existing. And when speaking with our neighboring districts about Electronic Engineering, their responsiveness and customer service has been great, which is something we were really looking forward to by potentially going with a new representative to help us out. So if you have technical questions, Jeremy Lemke from Electronic Engineering is here. He can help answer some technical questions. If you have anything else, I can help as well.
Superintendent Schneckl.
So I do want to put you on notice that one of the spouses of one of our board members is a technical expert in radio frequencies and radio towers. So you're going to go through an examination today. So you might as well come up here to answer these questions. Fair enough? All right. And we can get you this list of questions if you don't understand one of them.
And fair
But
enough.
we're
He
very
also,
fortunate.
in his defense, he did ask if there's some people from Motorola could come here with the weather situation we had going on as well. I was like, listen, they don't need to drive from Des Moines. They can answer the questions later.
In
So.
our format, we discuss and we gather information as later. So if there isn't anything, Josh and I'll jot it down. So thank you for being here tonight. Really appreciate it.
Director Klein Jerome.
It's not an inquisition, but does this require FCC licensing for these?
Yes.
And so we're purchasing equipment before you've gotten the license approved yet? Because what if the FCC says, oh, no, you can't do it that way, and
Correct. Purchasing would not be done before FCC licensing approval. We, as electronic engineering, if you decide to go forward with the bid, we would make the order beforehand, but you are not actually paying for anything until we are certain that everything will go through.
okay. So what is the time frame for frequency? Here, I act like I know what I'm talking about. Frequency coordination. Coordination needs to be done before the FCC can approve it. So what's the time frame in all this?
That with a system like this is about 2 to 6 weeks.
That fast?
Yes, from the time of application for us, it's about 2 to 6 weeks.
And you've already done like plot studies and making sure that there's not going to be any interference or coordination in all of this? Or
The
you
vast-
will be doing it?
The vast majority of that is done directly through the FCC, yes.
Yeah, okay.
You guys were in all of our buildings as well.
Yes, we did do a walkthrough of all the sites, or at least almost all of them in preparation for where we were potentially planning a repeater site.
30 software licenses for the repeaters. If a new repeater is needed for a replacement, will a new license be needed to be purchased?
All software licenses are good for 5 years, so that will carry with it whether it needs replaced or repaired. After 5 years, if a repeater should be deemed inoperable, need repaired, they may require a new license with that repeater. That is not an FCC license. That is a Motorola license, though. The FCC licenses are all good for 10 years.
Motorola has a habit of new radio purchases and in the future requires a purchase of new software for the new devices. New radios may not necessarily be able to use the older software. Are we taking that into an account or, because that would increase our costs down the way?
Motorola is a company that focuses on innovation and advancement, so I do get that. I do understand that frustration. I mean, that's the case with any technology. I mean, whether it's your cell phone, whether it's your laptop, all of that will follow that same kind of life cycle on technology. So is that a possibility? Yes, it is always a possibility. Do we foresee it happening with either of the systems? Well, I guess the one system that we are focusing on presenting, not in the lifetime of the system.
Are all the sites on DCSD property?
All except for the one repeater site that would be a separate system for the buses to operate on. Everything else would be on, it would actually be attached to a school building.
When frequencies are coordinated, will interference and plot coverage studies be done? And what's the cost of that?
That one might be a little more advanced. So the FCC, for anyone that's not aware, the FCC, whenever you submit an application to them, they actually carry the burden of ensuring that the frequencies that you are requesting are not going to suffer from interference. Within this system, there is a term called FB8 frequencies. Those frequencies are something that the system requires to talk to itself. and ensure that all of the components are there. Those frequencies, the FCC absolutely 100% guarantees that you will not have a single frequency within a certain range from that one. The rest of the frequencies that are on all of the other repeaters, we are using digital transmissions. So even if there is another frequency that is close to one that a repeater would have that, on an analog system would cause interference, on a digital system, you do not have that issue because you have, in layman's terms, settings within the radios that blocks out all of those potentially interfering frequencies. Does that help with that?
Mm-hmm. If somebody is using the system, would that lock other groups within that out?
I'm assuming, are you meaning multiple users like within the Davenport?
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
No. So this is because of the system that we're presenting, the Capacity Plus system, linked Capacity Plus to be specific. It is has a trunking system to it. So that trunking system, it's very similar to what you're using now. You do have a trunking system now, or the city does, that you are using. It allows for basically takes all of the communication and directs them to an open line. So you don't have, it's not going to stop one person from transmitting while another person is, unless they are trying to talk on the exact same channel, which is the case with any radio system.
And portable radios require batteries. Are spare batteries being purchased? Is that part of the cost, or and what are the costs of the batteries? And if they're not included, where are we purchasing them from?
That has not been a topic of discussion thus far. The proposal that is with you, so any radio kit includes a radio, a new charger, and one battery for that radio, as well as a belt clip and an antenna. As far as spare parts, that is not part of this initial bid proposal.
I will stop if there's more. I will send them to TJ. We'll send them to Josh. We'll get them to you. But thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
I am.
You got your mic on. So. Director Beck.
I have a very basic question. So my understanding of these radios, and Josh, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that these are things that can operate in any emergency situation as well as under normal circumstances. What happens if there's no power, no internet? Like analog radios still work. You can still talk to each other. But if it's something that's being relayed over the internet, that's not going to work. So does this back up for all that, all those scenarios? I mean, not every scenario, but.
As it is proposed, there are a couple of different things that it does prepare for. So a power outage, there is a UPS device that would be for each repeater system. Now we have stated that those are not being supplied by us. Those are being chosen on by IT personnel for the school that would like to use the brands that they would like. So those are basically a power backup. It's a battery backup for any repeater that should go down. These do talk over IP, but only from one device to another. So if the internet should go down, that repeater will still work within its power range, which would be in a typical city setting, you're probably talking 1 to 3 miles.
And that's if the internet were to go out across the district or something like that. It would.
Yes,
you would still be able to use them.
Every repeater, all 15 sites, they would all revert back to just a standard repeater system.
Okay, thank you.
Director Barnes.
Josh, these are, I think, questions for you. First, the city not interested in offering us some type of a deal as they're looking at a new transmitter, or they're happy to cut us loose?
We've had discussions with them, and the conversations have gone both ways. I don't know if it's greatly beneficial one way or the other, however we do this. We've kind of gone back and forth for quite a while about it. and they may just opt to go a completely different route. I don't want to say anything out loud that I don't know for sure, but as of at this point, they're fine with us going.
Second question. You said that this has been a discussion that's been ongoing for quite some time, and that there have been times where the team has said, "Yeah, we don't really want to switch." Has that what changed, or did I misinterpret what you said?
No, you're right. We talked about different options. A lot of it was during COVID, though. So there was a little change there that was taking place when we started talking about it. It was during that. We talked about little lanyards. We talked about a lot of different options of, oh, can we just use our cell phones? And then we talked through all these scenarios and how this stuff works. And the best scenario we could come up with is we always went back to the radios.
Okay. And the final question is related to, I mean, it sort of comes through in the memo, but not really clearly. I mean, the system that we have been using is going to be changed out by the city. It is at the end of its useful life. This is a natural moment to be considering an expense, an investment of this stage, because we don't have really a pathway forward without that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Director Poston?
In part of your proposal here, you're talking about the capacity max repeater system. And it says this system is a step below the Motorola system offered to the public safety sector. Would you explain that?
So there are two different systems that are within that proposal. One is the Capacity Max system. One is the Capacity Plus system. The Capacity Plus is the one that Josh has wanted to bring forward. The Capacity Max system operates almost the exact same as a public safety system does, as the Motorola public safety system. The biggest difference is actually a public safety system is guaranteed to 99.9999% reliability. The Capacity Max system is guaranteed to 99.999. Yes, so it is a top. The Capacity Max system is the top level that Motorola offers to anyone that is not public safety.
Director Potts?
I'm assuming this is connectable out to Walcott. We're all connected. My other question would be, is there a way in this system for a building to communicate with first responders? If not, should there be, and what's the upside or downside to that?
Yep, I can take that one. So I was not a part of it. I would assume that all of your schools do have one of those school safety radios in them. Is anyone able to? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So there are a couple of things that can be done. These radios can actually be interfaced with that radio. Now you want to do that on a limited level typically because you only want certain people communicating directly with police or things like that. So it is possible to do that. You can also work directly with your police departments. You can have one of your frequencies dedicated and added to their radios to be able to speak on that, as long as they are a multi-band radio, which if they went to the P25 system, that's the typical, which they did. They all went to the county system. So those can interface with your radios. We can put a frequency in them that would allow them to talk to your radios.
Director Poston?
I would assume you mean like as far as them being able to communicate directly with law enforcement. There's a lot of pros and cons to that. I think one of the biggest cons is that we're working on it's radio etiquette. It's we're working to have our staff understand that when they're on the radio that they need to be short, brief, because when they're on that radio and they're holding that button, if something else is happening, the other person can't talk. And we struggle with that. And I'd be a little bit fearful of us having it where we can directly communicate with law enforcement. The other part, you would probably want to talk with the law enforcement agencies, with Scott County Communication about that part. I know law enforcement's preference is that you call 911 and you're on phone with the dispatcher.
Any other discussion on this? Josh, I got a couple questions and I'll probably go right to you. The other surrounding districts that utilize this, are they on the tower system or the repeater system? And I'm just, because we're 3 times the size of any one of them. So I want to make sure that,
They're on the repeater system, I believe, are they not? Or am I wrong?
Most of the other school districts in the area are actually, that we deal with, are actually on lower tier systems because they are much smaller than yours. So that was taken into consideration while we were planning this one. The other school district that will be soon enough on a similar system, much smaller scale, would be Northcott. However, we do have districts throughout Iowa that do use this system.
okay. My other question, I guess, you've obviously talked to the other districts. Have any of them had any issues? I mean, can these things be hacked? And I don't know if I really want you to answer that in this setting.
When I spoke with the other districts, it was more about customer service and making sure if we have issues, we can get them taken care of through a vendor that's local. There's not a lot of Motorola distributors or people that sell them in the area. So I was mostly contacting them to find out, does your system work? Yep. If you have service issues, who do you call? This is who they call. Is your service good? Yeah, the service is good. Actually, it's been very good. So, and then we did a little trial run with them through a few things at them to see how they would respond, and they've done very well.
Okay. And I guess another one I have, do you all provide this service to any school districts that are comparable in size to us? And I mean, we have like 4 high schools.
Mm-hmm.
And we have way more buildings, so there could be a lot of things going on, at a particular time. So I just want to make sure.
There's a few things I'd like to say if I can. So first is on that security issue. So all of the data, all of the voice, everything that goes on the system is encrypted. Motorola offers that encryption and update all the firmware and software updates that are done annually. All of that, it updates those aspects. Second, yes. So our branch necessarily does not, because you're the largest in the area. So, but Des Moines Public, Waukee schools, all of those are done by our company in Des Moines.
Okay. If you could reach out to those districts and find out how that works, that would be great. Is there any other additional information other than the 2-page list that Director Klein Jerome had? Is there any other information that you all would need? Director Poston.
So on your proposal, you're talking about underinvestment before Sourcewell and Sourcewell. It's 2 different prices. What is that?
The only reason I provided that was for informative purposes. Anything that says before Sourcewell, that is what you would be paying if you were not using the state contract.
Oh.
Does that? Yes.
Okay.
Anyone else? Any other additional information? All right. Thank you very much. We will move on to subject 12.02, new flooring at Jefferson Elementary. I'll turn it over to Superintendent.
We did the painting, graphics, and furniture update at Jefferson. And after we started looking around at the building a little more, we decided that it would be beneficial to replace the flooring as well. to give it a little bit more of an updated feel. The flooring in a lot of places is pretty worn out. Obviously, you know, the building's pretty old, so I don't know exactly what the age of the flooring there is, but it definitely could use some replacing and upkeep. So after going there, doing the updates we did, we looked back, looked at the floor, and thought we should replace it. So a quote to replace the majority of the flooring in the building is $450,000. That was a bid through the Omnia contract as well. Any questions?
Director Flandrau?
Um, have you looked at other buildings since we're going to do this for all the elementary buildings, the furniture, the walls, and things? Have you gone around and looked at other floors? How many more do we expect that we're going to have to do this to?
So after the first three, we're starting to look at the flooring, and I haven't gotten a number as far as how many other ones we're going to have to do. Some of them have had weird, I don't want to say weird, but spatterings of things done to them in different rooms in different buildings. So to nail down exactly how much in each building, I don't know that yet, but we're working on the next round of quotes for furniture right now. So while we're doing that, we'll look at that as well.
So when you come to us for furniture, it will also either be yes or no on floors at that time?
Yeah, I'll try to put it all together. We'll try to separate it out. We don't want to go overboard with spending on flooring because we didn't have it budgeted to do that up front. But if we feel like it's in a real rough shape.
Necessary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Director Beck?
I'm assuming that this isn't an issue, but I assumed that in my work building as well, and it turned out to be. Some of the tile in floors is the old tile potential that has to be tested for asbestos and things like that before it can be removed. Are we dealing with anything like that? Are we going to have to deal with asbestos abatement?
I don't know. Nobody's said nothing to me about it so far, but every building is tested. I'll double check that though.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I went to work one day and they cut out corners of tiles in every room so they could test them all.
Yeah. It's been tested in that building, but I can't tell you off the top of my head if that is or not.
Well, because if that becomes that's an added expense, right? That we would have to worry about. So,
Josh, if I remember right, I believe all the flooring that had any of that substance in it has been removed from our buildings when they gave us a asbestos mitigation report or something.
Could have been.
I remember that a while back. Any other? Director Hayes?
Josh, where would these funds come from?
These funds, I believe, come from Pepple, the Pepple funds.
Any other questions or information board members would need? I'm assuming this will come at the next regular board meeting.
Yes.
Director Posture?
Is this a summer project?
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. We will move on to subject 12.03, staff supports. I will turn it over to the superintendent.
Thank you. The administration would like to present a proposal recommending two positions to come back to the district that have previously been in the spot. The first one we're going to talk about is the district athletic director. One of the directions that we're going in growing excellence is this notion that we need somebody in our district that is championing our district-wide athletics. And the reason why we believe this is so important, moving our students and our programs forward, is probably the number one thing is we need our feeder alignment and our programming coming towards all of our athletic programs. We need to develop our coaches, recruitment of coaches, oversight, strength and conditioning programs, marketing programs, including social media and the presence, developing and maintaining our strategic partnerships, our stadium management, oversight of all of our middle school programming. Think about that also envelops our feeder programs that come into our high schools. And so we've had this position in the past. Actually, Mr. Flynn was in this position, and it really started moving things in the right direction right before the 2018 school year. The second position that we're talking about today is the secondary 6 through 12 person that is the champion for our secondary curriculum and programming. And we've had this position in the past. This position is slightly different this time, and I'm really proud of this, actually, the brainstorming and the developing between our special ed department and our curriculum department, because this will be a jointly funded position that will really oversee all of our 6-12 programming for our students. But here are some key concepts. Our community spoke loud and clear that we need to move our 6th through our middle schools into the next, into the future, offer more opportunities, bring the CTE programming back. One of the big obstacles that we have in our district is the students enter into our middle schools, and many of them are not prepared for their freshman year. And so this notion that what does middle school look like? How are we preparing them? We're moving our 6th graders back to the middle school to allow our longer experience, to build better relationships, to build stronger pathways for our students. And then what does that look like entering 9th grade? And then from there, what are the pathways with our AP, our CTE courses? We have a lot of work to do with our curriculum and instruction and our grading at our secondary. Look at all the programs that we are, or look at all of the curriculums that we are purchasing now in our secondary schools, and not to mention the bringing back the middle school concept. And so this person would be in charge of the MTSS system at our secondary schools, bringing a level of curriculum and experience knowledge that is absolutely vital to move us forward. And also another huge part of this position is post-secondary readiness. What does that look like to and through our system for us, through a certificated program? What does that mean for you? And so, again, this position will focus both on general ed and special education in order to guarantee this lens of the entire system, post-secondary readiness. Also, we'll focus on the different sections of our MTSS section, chronic absenteeism, and really help be that expert eyes that champions our 6 through 12 system. So those are the 2 positions that we are discussing tonight. I also want to make a note that it's been very careful considerations. We brought this to the Finance Committee. We're very concerned about what does this look like in the future. So we've put it in our 5-year projection. It doesn't interfere with any of the goals that the board has set out for us in terms of recruitment, retention, salaries, any of that. And so we've ran that through our projection, and we feel very confident that we can still accomplish everything that we need to do and this. Open it up for any questions.
Director Hayes?
When are we looking to start this?
That's a great question. The reason why we're bringing this now is we're hoping to get this out in the hiring season, which would be the January, February mark, to start July 1. Because we're looking for a very specific skill set. This secondary position, this person has to be able to walk in and say, nope, this is how we build the schedule, this is what it looks like, and work through that knowledge, and have that knowledge. And our athletic position, somebody that knows exactly what strong feeder programs look like, state-of-the-art facilities, combining that together. So that's the timeline that we're looking for. We want to be very aggressive.
Director Barnes?
Can you help me sort of understand what this reporting relationship looks like for a district-wide athletic director? I mean, how does that interface with the school athletic directors and the principals, and then you? And then I think a secondary question: would this person require any support, meaning administrative support? I mean, are we hiring a person, or are we creating an office?
So I'll back up. We already have a very highly qualified person doing it, Miss Phyllis Meyer. Anybody that knows her, she's outstanding. So there's already support there. And remember, this is currently a half-time position in our district. We're looking to make it full-time. This is something that needs advocacy in our district. The second component of that, as it sits right now, this position would directly report. And this is not uncommon. So of our cabinet members, we all have different roles and responsibilities, and we have different things that report to us. So this position would report directly to John Flynn, which is currently where athletics sit as we speak. John's knowledge and experience of that. And we have different things that we supervise just for kind of as in other duties as assigned. John, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I would just say, Director Barnes, to answer your question, the interface between that person and the building athletic directors, the principals, excuse me, it is a pretty tightly knit when it's done the way it was before, tightly knit in terms of weekly meetings, making sure that there is communication between building principals and the district AD to ensure that there's not stepping on toes, so to speak, and that the appropriate level of support is there both for the building and for the AD, building AD as well, if that makes sense.
One thing I'd like to see on both of these positions is, number one, a job description, and then we need some sort of accountability as far as how are we going to evaluate the job that they're doing. I think we need to have, and I'll speak to the AD position and some of the things that the superintendent pointed out. That person definitely has to be a champion for the district. They've got to get our feeder program going, and we also have to have more participation from our students.
Director Beck.
With the AD, I sort of have a similar question regarding the champion. You mentioned marketing and social media. How would that fit with Sarah Ott's new position? Didn't we just hire somebody to do that? So I guess that's my one question, is how do those two things interface? And then my other question was about the secondary teaching and learning director. Can you refresh, what did we have last time we had sort of multiple positions at this level? And I know, our CTE programs are very important, but I'm still not hearing anything about preparing kids for college. I'm hearing things about preparing kids through certifications and things like that, which is fantastic, but we can't forget about the other kids too.
When you hear me say through a certificated program, that's college. So, but that also means I got my welding certificate. So when we talk about AP courses, a career pathway, that's exactly what this is. And the post-secondary readiness and and how you score and keeping track of all that. We can count every single thing that our students do post-secondary that they get into. I think maybe the military is the only thing that we can't quite count. So we know exactly how they're doing when they leave us. And in our, yeah, there it is. And in our area, we also have wonderful data experts to kind of help us digest what would be good steps inside of our pipeline. So that I thank you for the clarification. When I say to and through a certificated program, I mean getting that college certificate. I mean any one of those things. That's what that means to us. So thank you for clarifying that. There are some outstanding tools out there that take a picture and it goes through all of your different social media areas. So to talk about sports and for a second, or activities or athletics or anything, or arts, your son runs cross country. The things that tweet from the cross country coach and the cross country team are drastically different than the district brand. So someone that is championing that with the oversight of our communications and community relations person, the ability to show exactly what's going on, what's available to you, that's one thing. The other thing is our internal and external communications. What's available? All of those different things. Are we in the right markets? That's one thing I've learned from Sarah in the first week. It's one thing to promote, tweet, and that, but are you in the right arenas? Are we being tactical with how information is being delivered? So I would say that that would be one way that they would work directly with our internal communications, community relations. Thank you.
I have one quick follow-up. I'm discovering that every sport, every coach has their own app that they like to use. Is there a way to pick a district one so that you don't have to download a new app for every team or activity that your kid joins?
Well, there's two things. One, those coaches pick those apps because the strange part for parents and families is that when they enter into high school, it slowly becomes their responsibility to get themselves. So there probably would be some benefits of streamlining that. Yes, I believe there would be some benefits.
And when I say parents, I really mean also the students.
Yeah.
Because
I hear
having
you.
5 different apps for
Absolutely.
5 different activities is a lot.
Agree.
Director Potts.
I wanted to agree with Director Postian in a job description for the secondary teaching and learning. I think I'm losing track of who's doing what where downtown. It just seems there's a lot of pieces, a lot of puzzle, oh, that one's doing that, and 3 or 4 people are coming up here and telling us about this, and then another 2 people are coming up and telling us about this. I know at one point we had I think it's a flow chart that just what's the pecking order and what are the responsibilities. I think that would help. It helped me visualize how another director would fit into that matrix.
Director Poston.
So along Director Potts' question, I'd like to know what the tie-in is. We have our 3 ILDs. Now we do have this secondary teaching and learning program director. We have the communications director. How's that all going to be coordinated? How are they all going to work together for a common goal? I just don't want to see, I guess, duplication of some of these jobs, and so show us how that is all going to work together.
Anything else? Anybody got anything else? Are you looking? Are we going to be approving something on this at the next meeting? Okay. Is there any other additional information or questions that you're going to need answered in order, Director Hayes?
One thing that I would like to see, since we've had these positions before and they were eliminated and revamping them again, can you provide like a comparison of old job description versus new to see, what's different, what's going to have the greatest impact now that we didn't have with these positions in the past?
Well, these questions that are coming in are actually enlightening, because I think part of the problem that we had, or part of the problem all schools encounter, is the lack of calibration that occurs amongst its district. One of the things I'm incredibly proud of is the calibration that is occurring. Diane Campbell joined us, and I don't know a harder working human being than her. When we leave, her car will still be here, and if you get here at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, ask Karen. She's here at the food pantry. Hers is the first one here. In order for us, where we are and where we're going, the difference in our system right now is this section right here. And our instructional leadership directors, their whole purpose is to work with building principals to tear down barriers day to day, every single thing inside that building. What is it that you need to get that done? What is it in our secondary schools is exactly our next step. And so working alongside, say for example, we're in the central region, working right alongside with John Flynn, what barriers do we need to tear down to make sure that our secondary programming is moving in the direction that it goes? And then after the what we teach is there, every other week, our ILDs are meeting with the principals talking about, okay, what supports do you need to meet this goal? The North Star in our district is that our cabinet are working inside of our buildings. That's a drastic change. So when we talk about we might have been here before, we haven't been here like this. And that's not to say that the work that was done in previous years was bad work. We just learned from 2018 to 2021 that we needed to be better calibrated. We need to tear down our silos. We need to move forward together. And so that what I would say overall when I hear, I'm very optimistic at that. Our structure is very tight at the leadership level. And we have some excellent people rowing in the right direction. So I can show you the organizational chart, the holes that we are filling, and I'll have that for you soon. So I think that was kind of my thoughts when people are saying, well, how is this relatable? How is this different? And where we are and where we're going, just absolutely vital to moving it forward. So,
Any other questions or information board members would need? The only thing I will add to this, it's about time we had a full-time athletic director for a district our size. And that way they can advocate for all, so not just some schools are getting certain things, so that every school gets the same huddle subscription, because I know that's not the case right now. And that we're getting the things we need, whether there's equipment that needs to be purchased or whatever, so not one school gets favored over the other. So this is a huge thing, and this will be on our next regular meeting. All right. Seeing nothing else, we will move on to subject 12.04, policies for board's first discussion. I'll turn it over to Director Klein-Jerome.
Some of these are new policies. Some of these are just kind of some update of language. Are there any questions on any of these? Okay, they'll come back the next meeting.
Thank you. Administrative reports.
none at this time.
Are there any board requests? All right, I have one, name of board member, Director Beck. Data request 1/8/2024. Item requested, request for information. Description of request, please provide an organizational chart down to building principles with links to general job descriptions, not detailed. Why are you making this request? We have had a lot of changes, and when would you like this? As soon as possible. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, are there any other board requests? All right. In the interest of the impending storm, we will forego board reflections, and Director Potts, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.